Did the Indiana Fever actually lose Game 5, or were they robbed by officials who refused to let them win? Think about it. Aaliyah Boston fouls out late on what looked like a clean rebound. Kelsey Mitchell gets hacked all night, ends up cramping so badly she lands in the hospital. Odyssey Sims gets clipped and still drops 27 points. And yet, the whistle? Always leaning Vegas's way. If you thought this game was fair, you probably weren't watching closely. This wasn't a loss. They fought through chaos, injuries, and officiating mistakes, only to have the series stolen. So what did Lexie Hull say after the heartbreaking loss and the stolen game? And that theft? That's the story nobody is letting slide. What if the biggest opponent the Fever faced wasn't the two-time champs but the referee crew with their whistle? That's how the entire series started to feel, because from Game 1 on, there was a pattern that fans couldn't ignore. Every time Indiana made a push, it seemed like the flow of the game got interrupted by calls that tilted possession right back to Vegas. One example that set the tone was Aaliyah Boston being tagged for touch fouls that quarterbacks would shrug off in the NFL. Meanwhile, Kelsey Mitchell and Lexie Hull fought through defenders draped on her all series long, but whistles stayed silent. By the end of the first 3 contests, the Fever had built frustration not with their play, but with how the game was called. These weren't one-off mistakes either. By Game 3, the imbalance was glaring. The free throw numbers tilted heavy toward the aces. That meant not just easy points on the line, but also shifting energy. Defensive momentum is hard to sustain when you can't get a stop without a foul being recorded against you. On the other side, Indiana played through near tackles at the rim without the same whistle. Fever coach Stephanie White even admitted the inconsistency made it nearly impossible to plan. How do you draw up a strategy when a screen might be called illegal one trip and ignored the next? Fans noticed, and media voices started saying the same thing out loud. People called it bias, some even suggesting special treatment for Aces stars. And the more the numbers stacked up, the free throws, the missed calls, the more it looked believable. This wasn't random. This was a trend that threatened competitive balance in every matchup. By the time Game 4 ended, no one could claim it was coincidence. The Fever weren't just battling Las Vegas. They were battling a whistle that kept shoving them back. And if the first 4 games were frustrating, Game 5 made everything explode. That shit was rigged. Like, the Indiana Fever fought so hard. But they literally had 8 injured players. They had 8 injured players. And Aaliyah Boston fouled out for phantom fouls. And they still got to overtime. You can't deny that, the Indiana, they did everything in their power to try rig that game in regulation. And Indiana just didn't go away. Imagine fighting for your season while every foul call feels like it's already been written against you. That was Game 5 for the Indiana Fever. This wasn't just about X's and O's anymore. It was about dodging phantom whistles and trying to survive when every ounce of momentum kept getting funneled back to the Las Vegas Aces. Despite all of it, despite Kelsey Mitchell being carried off the court and Aaliyah Boston sitting on the bench with foul trouble, Indiana refused to vanish. They clawed, they pushed, and they nearly pulled off the impossible, even sending the game to overtime. But you can't play 5-on-8 forever. Early in the second half, Boston was hit with one of the softest moving screen calls you'll ever see. You watch it back, and she barely grazed the defender. But the whistle rose anyway, as if refs couldn't wait to slap her name on another foul. Minutes later, Megan Gustafson took a dive that would have made LeBron proud. And sure enough, the refs rewarded her with an offensive foul on Boston. That alone would have been infuriating. But the knockout came in crunch time. Boston, battling Jackie Young for a rebound with 26 seconds left, whistled for her 6th and final foul. She was out. The Fever challenged, desperate for someone to see what everyone else saw, that it was nothing more than 2 players fighting for position. But no. The call stood. Jackie Young sank the free throws that gave Vegas the lead, and Indiana had to finish regulation without their all-star center. Kelsey Mitchell didn't even get the chance to help in those final minutes. She'd been pummeled all night with physical defense, arms draped on her, hips checked on drives. No whistles. Her body finally gave out midway through the third. After knocking down a 3, she grabbed at her leg and had to be helped to the locker room with muscle cramps. 15 points already, and still the anchor of their offense, yet the only response she got from Vegas defenders was more bumps, more hacks, and zero accountability from the referees. Meanwhile, other ugly moments piled up. Jewel Lloyd shoved Lexie Hull so hard that fans expected a flagrant review. Nothing. This is some bullcrap. They're gonna just shove Lexie Hull and then say that's a common foul. Like, this is not unnecessary force. Are you kidding me? If this how this game's gonna go, like, I'm sick just watching Lexie Hull get beat up. Natasha Howard got raked across the eyes. Silence. Odyssey Sims absorbed contact all night, even clipped on a drive in overtime, and somehow ended up being treated like the initiator. The official numbers told the story too. 25 fouls called on the Fever. Vegas, on the other hand, practically lived at the free throw line. 3 things I didn't like. Look at that. Smacked her arm and her entire body. Honestly, could have been a flagrant foul. Look at this. And she's gonna scream like she got all ball, like she's so excited. Like, anybody could go do it somebody's entire body and get a block shot. Like, you should be seeing if she's okay. Gosh dang. And then, why do they hit Howard in the face, but they don't review these and give them technicals, like they do on the Fever? And then we all saw that one. They called that a basketball play. Bullcrap. Arjal Wilson alone made 10 trips to the stripe. Boston, fighting under the rim every possession, managed only 2. You don't need an advanced stat sheet to see the imbalance in that. And yet, Indiana still refused to quit. Down players, down calls, down their leader in the middle, they battled until Odyssey Sims exploded for 27 points, carrying them back into a tie at the end of regulation. The game went to overtime not because the whistle gave them life, but because they simply refused to hand the Aces a win. It wasn't just resilience, it was defiance. And that defiance defined the Fever far more than the scoreboard ever could. But what really makes this group special isn't just how they endured corruption. It's the fire every single player brought to that run. Sometimes the most inspiring victories aren't on the scoreboard. They're in the hearts left on the floor. Game 5 was supposed to be about survival, but what it actually became was a showcase of the players who refused to let all the bad calls define them. Their effort, their toughness, and their togetherness created a bigger story than the one written on the scoreboard. Look at Odyssey Sims. A player who wasn't even on the roster for most of the year, signed late on a hardship contract, suddenly turned into the heartbeat of the series. In Game 5, she poured in 27 points, moved the ball for 6 assists, and shot 50% from the field. She carried Indiana when their offense broke down, blowing past defenders who couldn't stay in front of her and finishing through contact that officials never rewarded her for. Her layup late in regulation tied the game and sent everyone into overtime with the belief that maybe this was the night the whistle wouldn't decide it all. Sims wasn't just playing well, she embodied the grit and fearlessness that gave the Fever life in their toughest moment. Kelsey Mitchell's night reminded everyone why she's considered one of the most dynamic guards in the league. Before her body gave out mid-third quarter, she was flat-out unstoppable. 15 points, 3 of 3 from deep, and a presence that Vegas had no answer for. She came into that semifinal as the offensive leader, and even as defenders pounded her on every cut and drive, she never backed down. Watching her collapse with lower body cramping after fighting through so much contact was heartbreaking. Yet even that detail somehow fit the story. Mitchell gave every ounce she had until her body physically forced her out. For Fever fans, her injury only amplified the pride in her fight. Then there was Aaliyah Boston, who once again carried the front court in ways the box score never fully shows. Even in limited minutes because of the foul calls, she scored, rebounded, and kept demanding the ball inside. She lived under constant pressure, wrestling for position on nearly every possession. 15. Lob it in, Boston. So effective in Game 4. Try to Worth Wilson on the follow X3. Around it all. Howard tried to tip it, able to scrape it away. Another extra possession for Indiana. Mitchell, that Stace didn't take. Boston lays it in. Boston still made her presence felt in both paint scoring and anchoring the defense until referees sent her off with that brutal 6th foul in the closing moments. That moment summed it all up. Dominating physically, outworking everyone, then having the chance ripped away by a phantom call. Here's Sims. weaving, Hull dishing. Boston lays it in. Lexie Hull gave the kind of performance that gets remembered long after the game ends. Playing through a back injury that most players would have sat with, she still managed 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. Her defense was everywhere, flying into passing lanes, diving after deflections, cutting off drives. But it wasn't just the stat line. After the game, Hull stepped forward as one of the strongest voices demanding accountability in the league. Her actions on the court and her willingness to speak up after showed why Indiana fans are ready to rally behind her every season moving forward. She wasn't just playing injured, she was pledging herself to the team and the game. So what did Lexie really say about the heartbreaking loss? I think that's something we can take away from the season. Obviously, ending on the loss is hard and not what you want, but I do think that we can be proud of the effort we put out there, especially in the fourth quarter, losing Aaliyah, losing Kelsey. I don't even know if that was the third or fourth quarter. But 2 of our biggest stars go down and we continue to fight and send it to overtime. So I think that's, we're proud of ourselves. We're proud of that fight. And, it's just sad to see this group. Shea Petty was another quiet hero. 13 points, including 3 from deep, right when the Fever desperately needed someone to step up after Mitchell left. Her ability to stretch the floor kept Indiana alive, forcing the Aces to defend honestly and giving Sims the space she needed to shine. Those minutes mattered. Without Teddy's confidence to take those shots, Vegas would have buried Indiana under another whistle-driven run. This is not an ending. It's the launch point. Clark returns next season. Boston becomes stronger from this experience. Mitchell, Hull, and Cunningham represent the guts and fight needed to build a powerhouse. What Fever fans saw wasn't just one playoff run stolen in the semifinals. It was the building blocks of a dynasty waiting to happen. And that's why any anger over what the league took away immediately folds into belief in what this team is about to become. What if the most important part of this story isn't how it ended, but what it started? While the Las Vegas Aces move on to celebrate another finals appearance, the Indiana Fever walk away with something far more valuable. Proof they've officially arrived as a threat in this league. A 6th seed that no one expected to be standing at this point just pushed the Las Vegas Aces to overtime in a deciding Game 5, even while dealing with the kind of adversity that would have broken most teams. Hey, it's sad. I think, especially when you push it a game to overtime and you fight for so long, your expectations are to win, obviously, and so to lose is sad, but I think arm in arm, all of us together, we can look at each other and be proud of each other. So it's a moment of love for sure. Think about what this roster went through. The Fever had 6 season-ending injuries. They needed to use hardship contracts just to keep a full rotation on the floor. Their most important player, Caitlin Clark, missed nearly the entire season with injuries, limited to just 13 games. And yet, this group didn't fold. They beat higher seeds. They won elimination games. They went into Las Vegas against a fully loaded Aces squad and refused to back down until the very end. That's not the resume of a team still finding itself. That's the resume of a team that just put the whole league on notice. If we can win, this is a 0-0 game, 5 minutes. We do those situations in practice. They took everyone. O had an incredible night tonight. People just stepped up. Then I think, when we were starting that overtime, we all 5, everyone on the bench, playing or not, we believed we were going to win that game. So, that just goes to show you that we believe in each other and in ourselves, and I'm just so proud of the script. The core that Indiana has built is scary. Clark will be back healthy next season, and her ability to stretch defenses, find shooters, and score from anywhere completely transforms the Fever's offense. Aaliyah Boston has proven she can deliver double-doubles even when she's dealing with foul trouble and double teams. Kelsey Mitchell already showed she can put up points in bunches against elite defenses, and when she's healthy, she'll step right back into that role. Lexie Hull's emergence as a defensive anchor and locker room leader makes her just as vital as her box score numbers. When you add veterans like Sophie Cunningham coming off the bench to provide toughness and shooting, you begin to realize this isn't just a fun young team. It's the beginning of a powerhouse. Caitlin Clark is expected to be fully recovered heading into next season, and to put it simply, this Fever group learned how to compete at the highest level without her. That's priceless experience. Now imagine her slotting back into a roster that's playoff tested, bonded by survival, and hungrier than ever. The playoffs gave Indiana scars, but they also gave them belief. This run wasn't a fluke. It was a preview. The Fever's championship window isn't down the line anymore. It's starting to swing open right now. And that's the real storyline this league should be nervous about. The Fever were robbed of a finals berth, but what they built was bigger than one series. They showed heart, toughness, and the ability to challenge a dynasty even while short-handed. That identity, gritty, unafraid, relentless, will be what fans rally around heading into 2026. Now it's on us. Stay vocal. Don't let the questionable officiating fade into silence. Share what happened. Keep backing this team, because their fight deserves support as much as their wins. The Fever's march into 2026 starts now, and the louder the fans are, the stronger this run becomes. They're coming, stronger and hungrier,